Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Longley's Line Podcast. I am your host, Stephen Longley. Remember, like, follow, subscribe, all of those social medias. Stephen Longley for me, Longley's Line for our show, and Lightstyle Studio for our studio here. As you can see, we got a new little change-up, fresh in the new studio. And to start off, our first recording in the new studio is a second-parter with Mathew Bonta.
Hello.
Thank you for coming back and continuing where we left off.
Yes, finishing my story.
Before we jump right back into it, feel free to promote socials, wherever you'd like people to follow, things like that.
Yeah, Sequel Productions on YouTube, Instagram, sequelproductions.com will get you to YouTube for all that stuff. So
Beautiful. And where we left off was around 2016
yes,
for the Street Toughs.
right.
So let's jump back into that. So now you've got your next setup going on. Where do you go from there? What are you doing?
All right, so we made Street Toughs, and it was like a year-long process before I screened it for the cast. And then, from that to the next movie would be 2019. But in between that, I start submitting stuff to various festivals. I kind of had before, but now Film Freeway has taken over, and it's a lot easier, more user-friendly. And we get picked for a festival in Las Vegas.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Which, it's a really cool feeling. So Street Toughs and Godsalt, the previous movie, are both screening at this festival in Las Vegas. I think that was maybe 2017, might have been 2018.
Okay.
Before, I forget which year it was that it screened. But yeah, I went down to Vegas and watched my movies.
What was that kind of experience like? Like, how did the selection process go just to get into the festival? You just submitted it?
It's like the same how it is now. I like to try to hit all the free ones now, and then kind of pick and choose where I want to spend my money on which ones I think are best suited for what my product is. And also like locally, like Sacramento, I try to hit. The Nevada ones I try to hit. So I think that's what it was for me then at the time, was like, okay, it's easy to get to. If it gets selected, I can go to like Vegas. I've got family there. We got, places to stay. We don't always have to buy a room or something, or rent a room or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just submitted to it and got selected. Said they were going to screen it. It was not the experience I was hoping it would be. I thought there'd be a lot of like hustle and bustle, people like chatting it up, kind of networking. Yeah. There was like nobody there.
Really?
Yes, but I also had like the worst like time slot.
Okay.
It was like a Monday night at like like 8 or 9,
right,
and that for the first movie, and then Tuesday like 8 or 9 for the next one. And it was at a casino, and in like a multiplex inside the casino, right across from the food court. But there was like nobody around.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's a Monday and a Tuesday. Like
it was like, really, like there was just nobody there. People showed up when their movies screened like later on.
Sure.
But it wasn't a lot of just like, oh, hey, how you doing? What's your movie? Are you here?
Not a lot of
what are you here for?
networking.
Yeah, there was like no one there. So it was kind of like deflating. And it's like, I thought this was going to be like the next step.
Yeah, gonna shake a lot of hands, meet a lot of babies, do that whole thing. Like,
right.
oh, look at the movie that I've got here. And
right.
Barely anybody.
Yeah, there was no one there for me to represent myself to in any way.
Yeah. Aside from like kind of on maybe a more positive note, for the couple of folks that were there, did they have a reaction that you wanted? Like the people that
watched it?
Yeah.
Which was like nobody.
Yeah, like the one or two people.
It was literally like, and we were trying to like hand out tickets to people. Like we bought some tickets and we're trying to hand them out to people to go and see. I don't think the crowd was there for like independent movies, right?
Yeah.
you really need to know what you're going to see and put yourself in the mind frame. There was like one like little old lady that watched like both movies, so she must have like watched all of them, whatever's playing. And like in God's Salt, like my character dies at the beginning of that movie, and she was like, "Why'd you die so early in the movie?" And I was like, "Well, I just was trying to focus on directing, so I killed my character off right up front." So that I can do that.
Give her the details behind the scenes. It was like, well, I had other stuff to do.
Right. And then I saw her again the next night at Street Toughs for that one too. So like, I mean, I guess she liked it.
Well, at least you got a fan from it.
Right.
One is better than none.
Right.
Take that. So while you're at the festival, you kind of feel it be a little deflating, like you said. Did you have a little, like fire start in your belly where it's like, maybe we'll try to send this to other festivals as well, keep this one going, or move on to the next project?
It, right? Because like some festivals are open to whenever you make it. Some are restrictive to the year. Street Toughs probably got some, maybe not nearly as many, but every couple, like the last couple years stuff, I'm still submitting. Like if I make something new, I'll hit those free ones, like I said.
Right.
And if my last movie falls under that category, I'll still submit it. I do hit more festivals a lot more after that. I just kind of hope for the best.
Yeah.
We did get nominated for a couple of for the awards show for a couple of categories at the end of the week. So we came back for that, right? Like I flew down there at the beginning of the week for the screenings, and then me and my buddy Corey, who's in he's in both actually. He did like the special effects. He's got a cameo in God's Salt, but he's the lead and like kind of the second lead in Street Toughs.
Okay.
So we went back for the awards and won like, I don't know, best new voice or filmmaker or something like that. But I was like proud of like best guerrilla film. I consider myself a guerrilla filmmaker. I like being nominated in that category.
What is guerrilla filmmaking?
Like run and gun, kind of like get your crew, get your camera, just go hit a place and start filming.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I don't know. It kind of sounds. I don't want to sound like trashy or anything like that. We still prepare, right? But it's more along the lines of this is where we're going to go and we're going to film. But it's we're not like blocking off streets or we're not like, not like a huge full production, right?
Yeah.
We're just kind of like, well, we're going to go to someone's house, film their yard, film, whatever. Or we're going to film on the street, which we do a lot, especially in the new movie. But yeah, just kind of like off the cuff, very cinema verite is kind of my style, is shoot what's there. I like to shoot what's there rather than fake it, I guess.
Overly produce it.
I hate that.
Yeah, where you can tell that it's completely fake.
Yeah, there's like a fine line between like real low quality, and then like high quality. I like to meet in the middle, right?
Yeah, I think which is the best way to do it. Make it more based in reality, which is kind of what a lot of people, especially kind of nowadays, are going for. Having the reality aspect of it makes them feel more involved into it and kind of seeing the real life aspect. So it's got that like guerrilla warfare, like you're talking about. Just we're here, it's time, let's shoot.
Yeah, let's go. Like this is where we're meeting. Let's play around a little bit, and then go and do the thing.
Yeah. So you win the best new.
Didn't win anything. Oh yeah, no, but that whole category, like 5 to 10, whoever it was that was in there, kind of they all like, hey, you're all winners for that one category. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, here's a button.
Participation prize, essentially. Yeah,
there's pizza in the back. Go get it. It's cold, but it'll be fine. So you go back for that. What was your next step after that? after that festival?
Like after that, like I was just burnt out and we didn't do anything. Like I said, from Street Toughs to making Not in the Dark is like 3 years, 4 years, 3 years. I don't know. I think I was just writing, right?
Yeah.
So like I had some ideas and I was just trying to get those scripts written, but then nothing came of them. So I was just writing a lot in that period. And just kind of getting some ideas out of my head onto paper before I lost them. So I wrote like All Good Things, which is kind of like the end of my trilogy, The Extremis Pavement and God's Salt. I wrote Take My Hand, which is kind of like a romantic drama kind of movie.
Okay.
My first and only one so far.
Have you wanted to walk down those lines at all anymore?
It's all just a matter of if I have the idea. So it's not that I'm opposed to it, but I do get more ideas in the crime genre or horror genre.
Right.
So like I would love to challenge myself and just do like a drama or a romance or something. I don't really get those ideas. You know, my mind goes like a million miles a minute, so
Right.
it's hard to fight off those demons a little bit and do something a little bit smaller. But yeah, I'm not opposed to doing that. I would love to one day eventually get to it.
Have that rom-com Hallmark money coming through. Get Mario Lopez to come in and just be the random hunk that's there or whatever it is.
Sure, why
Melissa
not?
Joan Hart coming through.
I'll take it. Absolutely.
Wouldn't be opposed.
And then I think I wrote All's Fair, didn't get made, and then Get Fiasco was what it was looking like we were going to make. And Fiasco is like kind of like a henchman thug character from God's Salt. That the actor I got to play that kind of went in this really great like big direction with what he did for that character, and like I'd never met that guy before, but like he was a cool fun guy and did cool fun things with that character. I was like, let's do another thing. So I took that character and wrote a movie for that.
Okay.
We did a script read through for it, got everyone together, but then it just didn't happen. So I think at that point I didn't do anything else. I mean, like 4 scripts within a year.
Yeah.
Is
And nothing really.
and nothing happening is tough. So and like once I hit a point in the year, I think I just kind of like, oh well, we're not going to get anything made. So like once summer's already hit, which we're going to circle back around to because that changes later on. It's like, well, we're not going to do anything, right? Summer's like going to be over soon. You know, winter comes up and the weather kind of sucks, and people are like working harder. You know, peak season at various jobs.
Yeah.
So nothing happens, I guess, for like another year or so. I guess at the end of 2018, I had a New Year's Eve party, I think it was. And I bought this board game that I found at Target called Nyctophobia. And Nyctophobia is like fear of the dark.
Okay.
And it was this board game. I believe it was created by a blind woman. So the game is about where the players, they wear like blindfolds so they can't see.
Okay.
And this particular version is there's one person that plays like a vampire. The other version's like a serial killer, something like that. And he will guide the player's hand on the board, and it's to feel where you can move.
Okay.
Right? And you either trust him or you don't.
Right.
And you're trying to find like a lost character in the woods and kind of avoid the vampire. And I'm like, this is a great concept.
Right.
Like I was thinking like a slasher movie with a vampire out in the woods. I don't think there's ever been like a slasher vampire movie. Plenty of like horror movies about vampires, groups of vampires, but like kind of like a Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, where it's a vampire kind of taking out kids in the woods or teenagers, whatever, college kids.
Whoever's there.
Cannon fodder, whatever it is that the vampire can take. So that kind of really stuck in my head, and that was the movie that I wrote next, was Not in the Dark. And Not in the Dark is the title that I took from a quote from Patriot Zombie, which was that failed zombie movie that became a mockumentary that we talked about last episode.
Yeah.
My buddy Dakota in that, who we interviewed, who was still around, he said some weird line about like Not in the Dark. I'm like, that's funny. That's a funny like throwback to that that goofy thing. Yeah, but Not in the Dark's also not the worst title for like a horror vampire movie.
Yeah.
So that's what I wrote, and that's what we ended up making in 2019, early 2019.
Nice. Okay.
You know, and you get people together. Like there's various different things that help motivate me to make a movie, right? The idea helps, and then the availability of the people who want to do something, right?
Yeah.
Like that all kind of comes together, and it's like, I think we're going to do something. Like people are free, they're not doing anything, you meet new people, and everyone's kind of interested. Let's do this.
Yeah. Want everyone fully committed.
So that's kind of what I did. I wrote Not in the Dark, and that's the movie we made. And it has like a rough like production behind the scenes thing that happened. And I tell this story often, but like I cast my sister and her boyfriend, and they had a very toxic relationship, and it came out while we were making it.
Gotcha.
To the point where like I fired him, brought somebody else on, but like her commitment to the movie was trouble at home between them, and I'm like, well, look, we'll figure it out, and you don't have to do it anymore. So like her character kind of drops out for an extended period of time in the movie before she comes back in. But like luckily I had enough filmed that I could piece it together and rewrite with the characters and the people that I still had and finish that movie. And the cool thing with this movie is it doesn't, it's nothing to, it's not a crime movie. It's not like my detective characters like before, but I was able to bring back one for a cameo at the end of the movie.
Nice.
And it doesn't quite turn out to be like a slasher like my original idea. It just kind of became like all my movies are very character driven and kind of are a certain thing. That's exactly what this became.
Was it more down like the lanes of suspenseful than a slasher, or kind of what category did you think it fit in?
Just a basic horror.
Okay.
So not like the subcategory genre of slasher. It's just like there's
Just a scary movie.
just kind of like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's scary or not,
Yeah.
but like the elements and the theme, it's very thematically horror.
Okay.
But like all my movies are like about the characters, who they are, what they say and what they do, and how they interact with each other. And I don't know whether you can say this about every movie, but I like to think of my movies as like, if you were to just kind of run into these people during this point in their life, this is what was happening. This is just a slice of the pie that is their lives.
Gotcha.
Rather than like, oh, here's a movie that's about this, and here's the plot, and this is what they do, beginning, middle, end, and that's the movie. Mine are just like, here they are, they're doing the thing, and this is their lives during this like 2 day. I do a lot of like real quick, like happens in 1 day, happens in 2 days kind of movies.
Yeah. Where it's mainly based on the character driven, less than story driven,
Right.
while the story is still there pushing the characters forward. And then now that you kind of had it pieced together, how are you feeling about that process and that final product?
For Not in the Dark. It's fine. It's fine.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's better than like Street Toughs ended up being. I don't know. I like all my movies, right? I like them fine. I don't know if anyone else does. If they do, it's great.
Pick your favorite child.
Yeah, but it's fine, and I do like a lot of stuff in it. I had like one good kill in there is pretty good. But it turns into more kind of like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of family of vampires environment towards the last half of the movie, last section, last act. And becomes less of, like I said, less of a slasher where one vampire is picking them off. I don't know. It's just like I got these people. I want to write fun stuff for them.
Yeah.
And I want to have like cool characters for everybody. Like all my stuff's like ensemble pieces. I don't want anyone to be like, well, this character kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I like to give everybody good lines, good things to do. Because not everyone can be a lead.
Don't want them all to fall. Don't want any of them to fall short.
Right.
Yeah. And do you kind of, at the end of all of them, do you keep them a little more open-ended as well for people to come back and then, it's
Even if I
like,
kill them, absolutely, I still
Yeah.
do that. Even if they die in a movie, I'm always for like, well, we had fun, and they want to do something again, and I like that character, so maybe this is a prequel.
yeah, it was like, well, John Smith died, but here's Jim Smith, his brother, that looks exactly like him.
I haven't done that. I will just like a prequel. Like at this point, I've tried to do like a timeline of my movie's continuity, and they're just all over the place.
Yeah, keep the Sandler verse intact, kind of how it goes.
Sure.
It's like, he's here. Didn't he die? I don't know. Or he's sticking around.
Well, like Weed in Street Toughs, I was able to get that motorcycle club design and those patches and put them on all these vests. And the character of Weed, played by my buddy Corey, like he quits the club in that movie, right? His first movie, and he's like stops wearing that cool vest and stops like riding a bike. So I keep bringing him back just to put him on the vest. So all that stuff happens pre-Street Toughs.
Gotcha. Okay, kind of keep it in that chronological order as much as you can.
Right, like and like if there's a cool prop or a cool costume, like let's keep using it.
Yeah, if it ain't
we
broke,
can.
don't fix it.
Right.
Keep it around. So after you got done with the Not in the Dark, what was your next step from
Well,
there?
Not in the Dark submitted again, and it played at the same festival for that year, 2019, which was great because it was relevant to the actors at the time, whereas Street Toughs, like, no one wanted anything to do with it. It took a year for me to screen it for people,
Yeah.
and like, the forward momentum was gone. But, like, we were still making Not in the Dark when I submitted it as kind of like a work print, what I had, and I was able to finish it in time for the festival, and some of those cast members got people together, and they all showed up in Vegas, and we got to see it with like a reasonable sized group for that movie.
Yeah. Was that older lady back?
I have no idea.
She was
I don't
probably
know.
following your
I
career in the
don't
back.
think so. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
She was there like, wow, pretty big turnout today. Nice.
It was good turnout. Like the lead in that movie, she like had a whole entourage.
Nice.
Like her mom flew in from like New Jersey to watch it.
Wow.
Yeah, so like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, had a much bigger showing out than the other
Yeah,
ones.
and when I was there, I think it was this time, there was another like filmmaker guy that was it was that time, that met with me and was kind of like that thing I was looking for. Like he saw that I had my filmmaker lanyard on, and I met him and chatted with him a little bit. And he came and saw my movie that night, and I went and saw his the next day.
Got to do that networking that you missed out on a little bit.
Yeah, I mean a little bit. It wasn't quite, like nothing came of it, but like
Yeah.
it was the experience that I was looking for previously.
Yeah.
And then another buddy of mine, he was in a short that was also screening there. And I was like, oh, hey, are you going to be there? He showed up. I didn't meet him at the time. Like, he wasn't there when I was there, but he was in and around. And, like, he's like, oh, here's your card for the movie. And, like, he took a picture of that, and it was kind of fun. So,
Nice. So you
like,
got
that
little bit.
experience was a lot better than the previous one.
Right. Didn't leave that kind of bad taste in your
Absolutely
mouth from the first
not.
one. That's great. And was there any nominations from that one or anything that came from that?
Maybe. I don't remember.
Right.
There might have been. I don't remember what.
Sure. But still, it's cool to have it in the festival with a big turnout.
Definitely.
That's
A
awesome.
reasonable turnout.
A
Let's not get
nice
crazy.
enough turnout.
Let's not get crazy.
Where it packed the entire studio out. So after you've got that one, get done with the festival,
Yes.
do you think let's build on this one, or it's just whatever comes to mind, continue to write whatever you're going to work on next?
I keep writing. Oh, what happened there? There was.
Because that was in 2019?
I was in 2019. And of course, 2019 is when COVID started spreading at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. Right. So I was lucky enough to make that movie then and get it screened then before, the world shut down,
Yeah.
a few months later. Mm-hmm. Right. So that screened, I think, at the end of August, beginning of August. Mm-hmm. So I'm still kind of playing with that and dealing with that. I might have And no matter how many times you watch it when you're editing it and you think it's done, watching it on the big screen, you see things and you hear things that you didn't like at home on the computer.
Yeah.
So like I did do a little bit more editing after that, played with it a little bit more and kind of finalized it. And then I don't think I really moved on to what was next. I think I was just kind of still like living with that movie a little bit
around that.
Yeah, before thinking of what I wanted to do. And Greg, my buddy Greg, I had him. He came in on that one actually. Okay. So I'm missing details here. I got my buddy Casey to film that movie, Not in the Dark, and his camera. So Not in the Dark going forward is better quality filmmaking, or as far as filming goes with the camera and everything else like that, because he does. He's got his own YouTube channel, eBay Miniature Rescues, and that's like his job. So he makes these videos where he will buy like Warhammer figures on eBay for like cheap that people kind of are like, oh, I fucked this up. I don't want it. I'm just going to resell it on eBay. He'll buy those up and he will like kind of refurbish them, do his own thing. And he does videos of those like every other week. He's got a new one coming out. So he's got his own kind of camera equipment and setup. I've known him for years. He did the music for Godsalt. So I was like, let's make this thing, come in and film it with your camera. So that's what we did. And then the one day that I didn't have him, I had Greg come in, our buddy Greg Kleinow.
Yep.
And he was my DP for that one day.
Nice. Okay.
And then during COVID, the following summer, we just kind of worked on getting the Blu-ray out for that. We just built that. And then the end of 2020, I'm thinking, let me buy some new equipment.
Yeah.
Right. So I bought a new camera and equipment based on Greg's suggestions because he knows his camera stuff.
Yeah. He's been around. He's seen it.
He knows what's what. So I'm like, Greg, tell me what camera I need to get, the be-all, end-all, so that I don't have to worry about anything. Which is, you can't ever say that because there's always new and better stuff, whether it's computers or cameras. But I'm like, what's the best that I can get that I'm not going to have to worry about anything else?
Yeah.
So I got a new camera, and I'm like, let's do some shorts and like stretch our arms with this equipment and see what we can do and just play around.
Test it out, shake the cobwebs off, get everything ready.
Yes. So I wrote a short series, I think 8 episodes, like 5 minutes long, give or take, per episode. I created the character Savage, and Greg is Savage, right? So like he's kind of like this mercenary for hire kind of thief, right? He'll rob like banks or whatever the job is, kind of based on the Parker character from the Parker novels, or like if you've ever seen the movie Payback with Mel Gibson, or Parker with Jason Statham.
Okay.
Very much just kind of like gritty pulp novels from like the 60s, 70s. So we did that. Me and Greg did that, Greg and I, and got familiar with the camera equipment then.
Sure.
And that also screened in Vegas. Like it's like 8 episodes. I put them all together into like one kind of short film, like 45, 50-minute short film. And that's what screened in Vegas. I didn't make it to that one. It's kind of like bad timing.
Sure. Were you able to hear any sort of comments or reactions from it?
That was a weird year because it was the same festival, but the guy that ran it, he like died during it. He like had a heart attack and died. So it was bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that festival went. And also during COVID, the Palms Casino like kind of shut down, and that's where they always held it. So this was held at like a mall movie theater.
Okay.
So I don't know how anything happened at that festival with everything with
after COVID
the guy dying.
So many things change, and
a lot of things changed, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Everything's different, and they've got to kind of think on their heels and do what they have to.
Yeah. So I don't know how that went. I'm sure it went fine. it was just for fun, me submitting it to that one anyways.
Yeah.
Because it was just a short. It wasn't like a feature that I was like super invested in. It was just for a fun test.
Just throwing it against the wall and seeing what happens.
Yeah, and it was a fun little series. I thought so, at least. And it created the character Savage, which I have yet to revisit, but I've written stuff for it. Great stuff, but it's just like it's. And see, this is where it gets to the point where like I meet some new people on Savage, and like, oh, these guys are great. I wrote a thing. No one wants to do anything.
Sure.
Right? Not available to even like sit down and let's read through it and see how it sounds. So it's like, great.
So I've got all this cool stuff going on, and nobody can help.
Yeah,
me out
no
here.
one wants to do anything. And that's how it always is. And just once you get to that point where people want to do something, you make the next thing.
Yeah.
But this is when I go through my crazy, like, writing a bunch of stuff phase. So I wrote, like, Savage, Snowfall, while we were still filming the first Savage, haven't even really done, like, episode 2 yet. I was like, let me do series 2. And then I do series 3, which is, like, Savage Nemesis, which I think is fantastic. I would love to make that.
Yeah.
Doesn't get made, right? And I write, like, what was the next one? What is that called? It was like an anthology crime series. It's like an earlier Savage, earlier character of Weed and the Motorcycle Club.
Okay. Like prequel-esque.
Prequel-esque, kind of when Savage like quits the club because he hooks up with the club in the Savage that we did make, like after having quit, after having like a bad experience with them. It was kind of like a fun anthology movie that would bring back the vampire from Not in the Dark, because he lives. I don't know. Spoiler alert.
He lives.
He wanders off, and you kind of forget about him because there's like a couple other vampire, the brother sister character in that. But he kind of wanders off. But I kind of bring him back, and like I've got a lot of like Mexican friends, so I kind of create like this Mexican luchador gang.
Oh,
Right, and
luchador
like,
gang. All right.
like when there's like a section where it becomes like a full like telenovela kind of like hyper realistic section where they're like, this person's cheating on this person, this one's pregnant from that person, and it's
all
just
the drama.
way over the top during that particular section, kind of like the comedic section.
Yeah.
And then the vampires also in there, kind of dealing with the luchadors, and they're fighting with the club, the motorcycle club. And that was like a fun thing that I really, really liked. There's a lot of Spanish, and I got one of my friends to kind of translate all the Spanish for me. So I've got a Spanish and English version.
Wow. Okay. That gets a lot of different markets too.
Yes, it does.
So you can hit the Spanish audience.
If I ever make it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a untapped population that you
Yes,
can.
absolutely.
get to.
Absolutely. 100%. That didn't get made, so then I wrote, and prior to Savage and the new camera equipment, when me and Greg were like making the DVD for Not in the Dark, we kind of got into like this underwater kind of horror movie like kick, and we were watching stuff like The Abyss and Leviathan,
Okay.
Deep Water 6, Deep Star 6, and the movie Underwater, which I don't like. And so I wrote like an underwater base movie, right? And with COVID right there, it's kind of like they're trying to cure like COVID, right? They're underwater, they found a thing that's working, and they're dealing with that, but shit goes wrong.
Sure. As it does.
And and that was like the first one that I wrote that didn't get made, right? Because we were going to take that new equipment, make Unto the Breach. We made Savage to test it out, but Unto the Breach kind of got like, there'd be no way. Like the way we make movies, there'd be no way. But that's an award-winning script. I sent that one off to festivals for screenplay contests and stuff, and it won at Motor City Nightmares, which, and Greg has said it's like my best script, but like, I don't know, he says that about everything.
Yeah, it fluffs you a little bit to.
Well, I can only imagine.
rolling.
I can only imagine. It's just like I've been doing it for so long, and I can only get more experience. At some point, it's going to go downhill, and like I don't know, when I get too old or something like that.
Yeah. You wanna
I
keep
like to
everything fresh.
I like to keep the quality the same with everything I write.
Yeah.
But so yeah, Unto the Breach, then Savage, 2 more Savages after that. Everything Sucks. That's what it was. I wrote Everything Sucks. That was the wrestling one, and I called it Everything Sucks because I was kind of bitter about not having made the other stuff.
Right.
But I also thought it was a funny line callback for like when the movie opens and like the dudes get arrested. He's like, everything sucks, something like that, and then credits. That didn't get made. So then Corey, my buddy Corey, who plays Weed, I'm gonna say that a lot. He's like, why don't we go back to how when we put the shed for Street Toughs in my garage, we built the set in the garage. Why don't we do something like that where we can control what we do?
Yeah.
Let's build something in my garage and let's do that. So I was like, fine. So I wrote another movie, insanely quick, and it's a science fiction movie, which the short that we just shot kind of stems from what that one was.
Okay.
It didn't get made. But it was about these guys that crash a ship onto a planet, and I wrote it's like a planet that's always, the sun's always up, like there's multiple suns, so it's never in the dark, so we don't have to film anything in the dark. So I was getting tired of like lighting shit out in the woods.
Figure out and
But I mean, and we'll get there again with this. That doesn't happen with the movie I do make next. But yeah, like everything's in the sun. Smaller characters. We'd build like the ship interior in his garage.
Nice.
And the thing I like about that, I think it's really funny, but I also, there's like a twist, spoiler alert, I bring the vampire character back again from that. So he's in Not in the Dark, and then he's in Everything Sucks. Now, Maroon takes place so far in the future, multiple planets. They crash on a planet, or no. God. Earth is destroyed at some point, right?
Okay.
And they find his DNA in this cave where he was killed in Everything Sucks. And these future people, like, oh, we found this weird DNA, and they create a person from it, right? And it's this vampire, but they don't know that.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look like a vampire when he comes back. Right, but like eventually he starts to kind of decompose and look like, because he's like a Nosferatu kind of looking vampire.
Okay.
That's how he looks in Not in the Dark. And then they manage to contain him, throw him into a tube, and shoot him off into space. And he lands on the planet where these guys also are, and they find him, but he looks normal because like they have like these tubes that kind of fix people up. And he's like, oh, I don't remember anything, right? And he kind of starts picking off these dudes that are crashed on this ship. And I think that'd be a great movie to make too. But that's what I wrote. I wrote that. Didn't make it, right? Yeah. And it's like, so we did another short, The Curse of Camp Blood, because I had this Jason hockey mask. And I'm like, let's shoot a short, because we're not doing anything. It's the summer. I'll write a couple pages. Yeah. And, we'll fuck around with that. So, me and Greg and Sierra, we make this movie up in the woods where like he digs up, like he's looking for like this hockey mask, right? On Reddit, someone's going to pay like $1 million for like this hockey mask, right? Yeah. So he digs it up and he finds it, but like he puts it on and it possesses him and then he kills her, and that's like the movie, right? Just a quick, short, nothing. Yeah. But from that, and I've always watched Friday the 13th movies and horror movies growing up. It was like a big part of my life. And at the time, there's like this really long Friday the 13th documentary, like 6 hours. They break down every single movie. And I'm watching it, and it's like, man, maybe we should do like a feature. Like, let's do like a Friday the 13th fan film, like a full. So then I write that movie. Right, I'm just writing movies. It's crazy. It's probably why it's so hard for me to write one now, is because I just kind of exhausted my my writing. So I write Midnight Bloodshed, and that's my Friday the 13th movie, and we make that one. That one we actually make. We make a feature length, like Friday the 13th horror movie, and we made that in 2022. So that was the next thing that I wrote and made. And that was fun, I guess.
What was a couple of details from that?
So, yeah. Right. We're podcasting, right?
Hit me with the details.
It was, and, also, like, so I wrote that in, like, October of 2021. And then we did, like, a script read-through in, like, November. And I made my notes and did my revisions, and then like over Christmas break I write Midnight Bloodshed 2, and we hadn't even done anything with Midnight Bloodshed 1. I just had another story. Like I said, I did that crazy binge on writing scripts.
Yeah.
This was the first movie, so we tried to audition for Unto the Breach, and we got people that sent in tapes, but we never made that movie. And sorry to those people who auditioned. We didn't do anything.
Yeah.
We didn't even pick anybody, really.
Sometimes it just doesn't
come
together.
And me and Greg did a lot of, like, every weekend we were getting together and we were going over, like, props this week, costumes the next week, sets, and just didn't make it. But we auditioned for Midnight Bloodshed. Got a lot of people that sent in tapes, men and women, for all the parts, and we, like, cast this huge movie. Biggest movie I've ever done, right? There's, like, 30 characters in this script.
Yeah.
Insane, really lofty goals and ambition to like try and think that I could make this movie, and we did. And it all takes place at night in the woods. Like the one thing I was trying to avoid.
Part, yeah.
It's because trying to light not in the dark was terrible. It was terrible. We did better this time.
People don't realize that either. When you're shooting at night, you're shooting at night, and you have to get.
You have to
the
see
looks of
things.
everybody, yeah.
It has to look like it's at night, but also you need to be able to see what they
You
look
need to
like.
know what's going on.
Yes. But Greg is good because he's like, have lights will travel, right? He's got plenty of lights and stuff and the batteries that didn't need a plug because we didn't have an outlet anywhere where we filmed.
Yeah.
But yeah, we auditioned that and cast everybody. We did a read-through, pretty cool read-through. We were at an office building. What's it called? The Hive over on Keystone. I got in there, and we did the big read-through with everybody. It was a lot of fun. And then we just started making it. But it took like 5 months to make that movie because we only do weekends. Yeah, no, it took a long time.
Yeah.
And we shot out at Frenchman's Lake in California.
Nice.
So, like, that's like a 30, 45-minute trip there and back, like every Friday night, every Saturday night, every weekend, just trying to get it done. And the cool thing was one of our film days landed on Friday the 13th in, like, June. So we were able to film a Friday the 13th movie on Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And, like, it was... I think the biggest day we had, like almost everybody was there that day. It wasn't like it wasn't even a Jason scene. It was just like a camp scene.
Yeah,
all the characters together. That was a fun day. But it was a tough shoot dealing with like crazy weather that year, 2022, because we had. One of our first day of filming was raining outside, but we were filming inside. And then it was like rain, snow, wind one weekend, right? So like if you watch it, the gas station section, half of that was filmed when it was like snowing and the wind was like crazy. And then the next weekend we filmed the other half of it with the other group.
Right.
And it was like nice and sunny out. Like the first day, people were putting their jackets on, right? The next one, they were taking their jackets off.
Yeah.
But, we edited it and colored it, me and Greg and I, and made it match. It looks fine. Some people have jackets on.
Yeah. Those continuity people are just like, why do they have jackets on? But yeah.
I don't think they would say.
Like,
I mean, people wear jackets in the summer, right?
Yeah.
People do it.
There's plenty of people that do that, which I don't understand. But, people do it. It can happen.
It can happen.
So how did the final product turn out for you?
That's okay.
It's fine.
No. I like Midnight Bloodshed a lot, and going into it, I didn't have a title for it, and Midnight Bloodshed is like the first movie I made in high school. Right? I took that title from my first movie. Used it for like my latest movie, kind of a fun like 20-year full circle kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's really good. I know there are slow parts, and that's just because that's the way I write. Like once again, like I'm very character-driven movies.
Yeah.
And I know this is supposed to be like Jason Voorhees slasher. He's killing people. It doesn't need to be very smart.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to not write how I write.
Right. And it also doesn't have to be edge of your seat the entire time. Like that movie Gravity with Sandra Bullock.
Sure.
My anxiety was through the roof the entire time. I'm like, I can't, why are you doing this to me? I'm trying to enjoy a movie here. And she's bouncing off the walls every other second. You're like, stop. So there's nothing wrong with having a couple slow moving parts just to
Right.
let the story continue.
Right. So, there's just like one kind of long section, the gas station scene, where everybody comes together and kind of meets each other, and then they don't even get to the woods until like the first hour. But like I have this kind of short film section pre-credits that's like takes place 20 years prior, right? So we got a big time jump.
Yeah.
And the short I shot with Greg, Curse of Camp Blood, is kind of like that opening section. Like it's completely rewritten with different people, more characters, but it's the same basic idea. Like 20 years ago, this dude's on message boards. He needs money to buy a house or to buy like a gas station. He's going to buy the gas station and run the gas station. So he thinks he's going to find this Jason mask and sell it to these guys, but he doesn't, right? And then like Jason shows up and like kills his friends and his wife. But he gets the gas station.
Yeah.
And so like 20 years later, he's the guy running the gas station when everyone else shows up. But yeah, no, it's good. It's totally watchable. I have a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah.
And we have some fun kills in there for Jason to do.
Enjoyed making it and the final product. Like, that's what better thing can you ask for than it coming together and you're like, I like this.
Right, absolutely.
Like, it didn't turn out crappy. It turned out nice.
It wasn't complete ass.
And how you were already kind of saying you were coming up with the second part of it, did you get that one onto film as well, or is it still kind of a
No.
story floating?
The script's done. It's written. It's more like a Friday the 13th movie than Midnight Bloodshed is. Like that one's straight up, like Jason from the beginning, and he starts killing people like right off the bat. And they're like construction crews and like SWAT teams. So like the body count is way up there, way up there. No, haven't shot that. Maybe never will. I don't know.
Right. It's just a story.
I
that's
would
there.
I would love to make Midnight Bloodshed too. Like I think it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of like mythology and history from the Friday the 13th franchise that I interweave throughout both movies for the hardcore fans out there.
Yeah, the ones that know.
The ones that know,
If they know, they know.
maybe they'd love it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Midnight Bloodshed though had a lot of like there's a lot of like it got out there a little bit. Like the views didn't go crazy when I released it, I guess. But it had the best premiere I've had. A lot of people showed up to watch it.
Nice.
We did that at the Auto Museum here in town. And recently it's been getting a lot of awards from the festivals here near the end of the year. Like a lot of, like I got a couple best directors.
Nice.
I know Greg got like best cinematographer. Paul in that, who's like the cop, he got like best actor.
Nice.
Like a couple best posters, best makeup. So, various festivals and contests have shown appreciation for it. And I've got, there's this podcast on the other side of the country in like New York, New Jersey, that I was on to help promote it.
Nice.
So like the podcast is Reviewing History, they had me on to kind of talk about it in October when I released it. And it was supposed to be on the You're All Doomed Friday the 13th podcast. It might still be on there. I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, so the You're All Doomed podcast, they would watch all the Friday the 13th movies 13 minutes at a time. They ran out of the movies, so they started watching the fan films. And then, but they were doing them in order, and they kind of ran out of fan films. So they're like, well, we're going to pause that podcast for now and let the fan films build up a little bit.
Sure.
But they did reach out and talk to me and say that it is on the docket to do. When, who knows?
Yeah.
But
when
it's
the time comes.
Yeah, but it's gotten a lot of attention. And also during that same period last year, I realized I rendered Not in the Dark wrong. I rendered it at 29 frames per second, and it's supposed to be 24.
Okay.
And so I fixed it, re-uploaded it, and it blew up. Like, it's like my highest viewed video on YouTube, like 26, nearing 27,000.
That's great.
Yes.
That's really cool.
I mean, it's not like huge numbers, but
Sure,
like
but
it's more than anything else that I
yeah,
have.
getting those numbers is
And like
no slight.
right at the same time, a streaming service reached out to me, not one of the big ones. I forget which one it was.
Like a Tubi or a Freevee or
Yeah, I
something
think
like
I
that.
think it's right on the same line with Tubi, because I mentioned it to Greg. He's like, "Oh yeah, we almost went with that one for some of our stuff, but we did Tubi instead." But I never followed up on it. I get too busy and like, I'll do this later. Meanwhile, like 6
Yeah.
months later, I still haven't done it.
It'll get done.
Next Halloween.
Yeah. So now that you're kind of riding high on those coattails, it came out, what, 2022, 23?
We filmed it in 2022. Took 5 months. It was like March to July. It was grueling.
Sure.
Grueling project to make, and like drove all over, the Frenchman Lake, California, to the Donner train tunnels, Washoe Valley. Like, a lot of driving in that movie.
Yeah.
What was the question again?
It was the...
Oh no, you asked me so we filmed that in 2022 and then released it January, Friday the 13th, 2023.
Beautiful. And so now kind of has the resurgence, like you were saying, where people are saying it and
Yeah,
awards
it's
are coming out
definitely
and stuff like that.
yeah, absolutely.
Are you now in the process of making another film? Are you ready now that we're kind of in more or less present day
Well,
here?
pre all that, I had already made a movie, right? So we made a movie July and August last year. So like, riding off of no coattails, right? Just done with Midnight Bloodshed. I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna make anything. I went back and was gonna re-edit Street Meets Pavement, my first feature, because I've got more experience with editing, a better concept of telling a story through editing and what we had. So I went and looked back at all that old footage. And I re-edited Street Meets Pavement and kind of came up with almost a whole new movie.
Yeah.
Right, better angles. I don't know why I didn't edit it the way I did the first time around.
But now you know.
But now I know.
The experience comes in.
So, re-editing that for its 10-year anniversary, which I didn't finish editing it, by the way. Spoiler alert, never happened. But I still have those edits, so maybe I'll with some free time.
Together, yeah.
I'll put it together. But earlier last year, that was one idea I had, just kind of playing with that instead of doing something. I took Unto the Breach, my underwater movie, and got people together and recorded all those lines. I was going to kind of do like a storyboard version, proof of concept version of that. That was one thing I was working on. But while editing Street Meets Pavement, I'm like, man, I miss these guys. I miss the way we made movies back then, because we were just like a group of friends. We just got together, and like at the same time, like we were podcasting like every day that we were filming, right? We'd start podcasting, people would show up, we'd finish up, and we'd go film. I was listening to all those old podcasts, and it's like, man, I miss those days so much where people actually wanted to make a movie, because like Midnight Bloodshed, it started feeling like people just didn't want to do it, right?
Sure.
Especially on a 5-month like shoot.
Yeah.
It gets tiring and people move on quick.
You can get a little burnt out.
But like no one was burnt out on like Street Meets Pavement, right? We were all there for the cause, and we all just wanted to do it. And I'm like, man, I miss doing this. So I wrote another script with those characters that kind of takes place in between Street Meets Pavement, because Street Meets Pavement kind of like has flashbacks. So you got present stuff, and then you got flashbacks. So this new movie I wrote with all the detectives kind of takes place right in between that movie somewhere.
Somewhere,
Real
somehow.
fucked up continuity once again.
Yeah.
And that was a fun script that I wrote, but knew it wasn't going to happen because I don't talk to Patrick anymore, who plays Cheese. But I wrote it because I had a good idea, and I liked it. I liked that script a lot. That's real fun. I want to do that as an animated movie.
Okay.
Me and Nomar, Nomar, we're trying to figure out some kind of animation thing, and maybe that'll show up
Maybe
as an
get that
animated movie
cooking,
one day. Yeah. But I was unsatisfied with not having been able to make something, so I wrote something that we could make. And I wrote it quick, and it had a quick turnaround, got everyone together, made it in July through August, got it done real fast. And it's a lot like going back to the basics that Streaming's Pavement was.
Yeah.
Like, we filmed every chance that we could, opposed to like the 5 months that was not our Midnight Bloodshed. 2 months is probably the quickest I've ever made a movie.
Yeah, that's pretty fast.
And I wrote it in a way to be made like that, because I like doing like car stuff. I miss doing car stuff, or just kind of sitting in the back seat filming these two people talking. I mean, it sounds boring, but I mean, like, it's in there.
Yeah, I mean, if it's one of the, like, part of your director's eye, then got at it. Like, Tarantino's got his things,
Sure,
you know, like
sure.
Kurt Sutter, who did Sons of Anarchy,
Right,
you
right.
know, there's got to be a car chase somewhere. Like, you know, you kind of add your own directorial flair to things
Right.
as it needs to come and go. And then, so now you've got the couple of movies under your belt. Does that bring us closer to present time, or was there another one?
No, that's
Kind of
so
after
yeah.
August.
Last summer we made Tomorrow Never Comes, and me and Greg are editing. Greg and I are editing that right now. I keep correcting myself.
It's all right. The grammar Nazis, they're already typing everything. I mean, the grammar
Leave your comments below. Don't at me, bro.
Don't at me, but comment. You know, let's get something going.
Yeah, Greg and I are editing that right now. We're getting real close. It's just a matter of him having some availability to come over.
Free time,
right? I mean,
get it through.
I do like the major editing stuff, and he kind of comes in and plays with the coloring
Helps
and
tweak
the
things.
sound. Yes.
Yeah.
Because it sucks sitting there editing over and over and over again, to the point where it's like, I hate this movie. I don't ever want to see it again. So it helps to have a second set of eyes, which is
Yeah.
what Greg comes in and does. Like, is this good? I don't know. I hate it.
Help me out here. I hate this thing.
So that's where we are right now. Is we're editing that. We just did that short movie. That's I'm going to see the screening of tonight with all the other competitors. And I'm just trying to figure out what I want to write next. I have
Yeah.
ideas, but it's tough to sit down and write something when I'm still like right in the middle of something else. Right? I haven't put If Tomorrow Never Comes to bed. No one's seen it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, all these people, they get together, they make this movie, and then they just move on. For all they know, they'll never see it.
Yeah, that's how it could go. You film and put everything to it. And
It's such a strange thing, strange
You never
concept
know.
when you think about it. Because, like, I've lived with it since I got the idea, right? There hasn't been a day that I haven't, like, dealt with it or thought about it,
Yeah.
right? But these people, like, they make it, like, maybe they spent a couple weekends hanging out, making a movie, and then they're like, I don't know, a year later, like, hey, whatever happened to that?
Yeah, coming from, like the actor side that gets brought into things.
Right.
It's like you read the script, you put your effort into it, you are excited to see the final product, but after you're done filming, maybe a week or two, you're like, all right, that was cool.
See you later.
And then, months go by and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that I was a part of this. Did anything ever come from? Like, I have that going on with the commercial that I did, where I was like, all right, this was pretty cool. I did a voiceover. I was a big part of the commercial. And then I kind of thought about it. That was last year.
You never saw it?
I've never saw it. I don't even know if it came out or what they did with it, but
Right.
I did it, so that was fun, at least. So now that we'll kind of get in the wrap-up stage here. So now you're working on getting that out. What is next, as a very generic way of saying it? Do you have, like you kind of said, you're still working on this, trying to figure out what to do next. Do you have kind of the
I
path
do.
that you're going to go down? Do you have anything you're like more excited about doing? Like what's kind of the next step here for you?
Next is kind of, so the short that we did just now for the competition in Carson, kind of helped create some creative juices flowing with doing like a sci-fi. My buddy Corey, Greg too, they're both sci-fi guys. They want to do some sci-fi stuff, and I'd written Under the Breach and Marooned. So I'm thinking, like, let's try and put together a sci-fi feature. I love doing features. And so I'm thinking I'll work on a feature and we can kind of work on the logistics of making that next year, while this year kind of focusing on shorts.
Okay.
So I got Stephen King used to do these dollar babies. I got signed up for one of those, and we're hoping to do that next.
See what you can take and mold and make.
Well, I mean, I wrote the script, right? I got the permission to do it. I signed the contracts, gave them the dollar, and so that's what's next, hopefully.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of figuring out when we can do that,
Right.
right? So like now that the short thing is done, after today, we can focus on like spending some Saturdays on doing that.
See what the next product is going to come out.
Right. So it'll be that one. I wrote this like Batman short that I wanted to do. And so instead of just like writing these things and having them, I'm like, this is what we're going to do. So I'm just kind of looking at doing shorts, getting a feature written, and kind of like putting stuff together, like spacesuits, like some set stuff, seeing what we can kind of play with.
Try to churn out more content.
And just have that stuff ready for next year, or when it's all ready, whether it's the end of this year or whatever, and just like look at doing that sci-fi feature and just kind of like doing something that doesn't really look like anything I've done before. Like this short doesn't really look like anything I've done before. Those people told me that have seen it. Right? They're like,
Try
why don't you
something
do
new.
stuff like that? And it's like, well, that was like nothing. Like
Never done that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. It was like, why don't you do it? Well, because I've never done it, so I don't know.
It's because no one wanted to make that script when I wrote it, man.
I've been trying.
Yes.
I'm here. Let's go.
Exactly.
Well, Matthew, on that note, we're going to get you out of here.
Sure.
So thank you for leaving where we left off.
I got to get you in a movie. When are you going to be in one of my movies?
Tell me when. I'm here for it. I love it's like how I tell, actors, directors, whoever comes up who's like, hey, I'm here. Let me know. I'll read for you and we'll get some on the books.
Well, now that we know each other.
Yes. And I'm all happy to do it.
All right.
Tell me when and I'm here for it.
All right.
And on that note, for those people that haven't seen everything that you have, go ahead and promote your socials, where you want people to see, where they can find all of the films, where they can watch everything, and
Absolutely.
where they can get you.
Well, you can see what I've done that's available on my IMDb profile. So if you see it on there, then you just go to YouTube and find it there, sequelproductions.com, or search Sequel Productions. I think might be some other weird, like long ago sequel productions that someone made that's just kind of floating in the ether now. And Instagram, Sequel Productions there. Mathew Bonta, 1 T in Matthew. Just YouTube, Instagram. I'm pretty open and easy to find and reach out to. I'll talk to you.
And if you can't find it, searching it on your own, it will be in the descriptions, all in the video here. So
Cool, sounds good.
Make it a little easier for people.
Check
to
the
find.
links below.
Check, as they say.
Smash that like button wherever it is.
It was like, I don't know. It's got to be around here somewhere. But Matthew, once again, thank you for coming in, explaining everything. For us over here, it is Stephen Longley for me, Longley's Line for our show, and Lightstyle Studio for our beautiful studio here. We will talk to you guys next week.
Perfect. Out.